With a ton of WWE releases over this past year, and with so many releases now coming out of NXT, not only from folks that are just leaving the company, and people that are backstage like William Regal are being let go. Today on the show, I want to talk about if we think Triple H will ever leave WWE. Let's get into that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Great to have you here. If it's your first time here, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Good to have you. We cover WWE, AEW, and WWE 2K22 here on the channel, and today, slightly different, more of just a conversation with all of you, because first of all, I want to know your thoughts on all of the recent releases that we have seen, particularly this latest round, where we have seen Samoa Joe, William Regal, and more superstars, people that have worked backstage with WWE and NXT, have been let go. It's kind of head scratching, right? It's kind of all over the place. We've seen Samoa Joe, William Regal, Scott Armstrong, Road Dogg, all being let go. All those superstars, all of those backstage people being let go that were all under Triple H's regime for NXT. And NXT, the Triple H version of NXT, took off with NXT Arrival in 2014, and it went all the way until basically August of 2021 with their TakeOver 36. Now you can argue that in 2021, and due to the pandemic as well, that a lot of the shows in the last couple of months of NXT were not in 2021, were really not the same as what we had experienced and enjoyed from kind of the years prior. When you got Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, you got Shinsuke in there, Finn Balor, all of Undisputed Era when they got at their absolute peak, Aleister Black, Andrade, just a lot of those talents I'm mentioning are already in AEW. And AEW is picking these folks up from NXT 1.0 left and right. Even the possibility of having Johnny Gargano show up in AEW is more and more a reality. And it's turning into grabbing that audience that has loved NXT and bringing them and everything that Triple H had built and bringing it over to AEW, which is great because people get their jobs, people got places to work, more talent, more screen time. I'm all in. I want to be able to enjoy it. But with what is going on right now, where William Regal's let go, Samoa Joe, Road Dogg, everybody that's basically, other than Shawn Michaels, who has been pseudo-appointed to run NXT 2.0, everybody else has now been let go. And to let people like Samoa Joe go out of WWE as a whole, forget about NXT, he's a massive, massive talent that can work in the ring still, microphone, promos, manager, backstage, coach, scout. You could utilize that person in so many ways, and WWE has no interest in that. William Regal's another one that I'm just like, really? You're getting rid of Regal, who coached and groomed so many talents that are on main roster right now, and you have nowhere to use someone like Regal? I imagine Regal will be totally fine and find somewhere else to go, but I'm just baffled by all of this. And my main point to all of this today with all of you is get your take on this. You've seen Triple H's NXT completely dismantled, taken apart, literally down to Braun Breaker kicking the X of NXT in the middle at the last pay-per-view and winning the NXT title against Ciampa, signifying that final change, that final, we're done with NXT 1.0. We've got our Braun Breaker, our 2.0 guy, and he is the champion. He beat Ciampa. That's all over with. It's all, and right after that, we saw the releases of Joe and Regal and so on. It really feels like Triple H is now done. And I can't imagine from his perspective, what it feels like. Maybe it's just business as usual, right? Maybe he just feels like, well, it didn't work, Dad, and now I'll go work in the office. We don't know. But to just speculate on it, you got to imagine just in general as a person, that's got to be really, really hard. He spent so many years building this thing, getting this kind of underground feel to all of this, making it really cool. And then every time he seemingly would let somebody that he had built up and built from NXT and let them go off to main roster, it completely flopped. Robert Roode flopped with a glorious gimmick outside of NXT completely after night one. Shinsuke Nakamura, they fumbled his entire introductory run when he took on Dolph Ziggler. Kevin Owens was done well because he went up against John Cena and he was still the NXT champion. You can say Kevin Owens was done well. But so many talents just never really got a fair shot. Look at Karrion Kross, who lost to Jeff Hardy in roll-ups, wearing the NXT title, and he's gone on to speak in interviews about how it's just he was shoehorned to lose right out of the gate and not be given a shot. And anybody that was under Triple H's regime or even the most recent crop of stars that were brought up, never got a fair chance. And so many of them are gone now. So I can't imagine what it really feels like to be him in that position of like, build this thing up, build it to get to a point where it's profitable, getting it on a USA network. Then AEW comes along and takes a lot of that market share. Now the pandemic hits too, right? And that doesn't help anybody at all. But NXT then had to shift their night schedules, presumably, and a large part of like the wrestling audience out there kind of say that, AEW won the Wednesday night war, and then we are left with what we are today, and Vince dismantles 1.0 and he's got his 2.0, and it's all going to be focused in on scouting for athletes, people that are not within wrestling, no indie stars. Like, they're moving away from all of that, and he wants homegrown talent that are more on the larger side of things and really going forward, the athletes of the world and not folks with wrestling backgrounds necessarily. And that's going anecdotally from reports online from Fightful Select, Wrestle Talk, and so on. And that's not a bad model to have. That's just the way Vince has always done business and his version of wrestling and entertainment. But it's just not what the NXT audience bought into with NXT. And those folks, I think so many of them have moved on to AEW, because literally it feels like half the roster from NXT is over in AEW right now. And we could see even more make their way over there to kind of fill that niche. If we can see the likes of Johnny Gargano and Keith Lee, and we have Undisputed Era already over there, you gotta wonder what's gonna be left for Triple H. It's such an interesting dynamic within WWE, with like not knowing what happens behind closed doors, but just very interesting to wonder what could he possibly do next within the organization. He's not really wrestling anymore at all. Other than if they want to do some big Saudi Arabia show or a WrestleMania, he's not going to be on any card. There's no one for him to work for. He's getting older. He's got health issues right now that are still being an issue. And with that, all of these releases are happening while presumably he's still not well. So what kind of role does he have within the organization if they've dismantled everything that was given to him to work on for the last almost 10 years, and it's just gone now? I don't know what he does next within the company. And that's what I want to ask all of you too, is like, do you think that Triple H would ever leave WWE on his own terms? Like, just be done with it and do anything else within the world of wrestling? No, I don't see him ever turning around and saying, I'm going to show up in AEW and be, an executive over there. I think that would just be mind-baffling and mind-blowing. But maybe he would one day start up his own company. He's a wrestling fan and he's a wrestler at heart, and he loves the business, and the talent that he surrounded himself with, from the back end to the talent that is on TV, they thrived around him and they loved it. They all loved it. They all talked about how great it was. And stars had not gone to main roster because they wanted to stay in NXT. And it's got to be frustrating to see talents that he molds and grooms and builds up, and you've got like FTR, and then they don't get really used that well when they go to main roster, and it kind of flops. Aleister Black got shoved in a room for a year, and there was no creativity utilized there when he was massive in NXT. And I don't know if this is all to set up for, Nick Khan and Vince to sell off WWE in the near future. It's not like on a whim that Vince decided that he was going to just shut down NXT. That would have had some planning behind it, and it would have taken time. I do wonder if they are setting themselves up to sell the company. There were the rumors and reports that WWE made a pitch to Fox to get Fox to buy WWE recently, but that the price didn't line up or whatever, and they weren't happy with what was being offered or being asked to buy the company. I feel like when they're doing a big reset like this and they're getting back into like a fundamentals, NXT 2.0 of just basics on TV, I feel like they're going down the path of getting ready to sell. Vince is getting older. He's not going to lose his reins of, holding onto the company, but I think he would eventually look to sell the company, and that leaves someone like Triple H out there. Where's he going to go? If they sold the company a few years ago, when NXT was still really hot, you could see that he would still be a major factor and a major player in there, but he's not dealing with SmackDown and Raw. He's not on the creative side, presumably. He doesn't have NXT to work on. So what's he going to do if he was, up and healthy and running all the time? What is he actually going to do and contribute to WWE other than being an executive? And maybe that's fine. Maybe that's what he wants. I don't know. But I'm just, what we hear in the rumors and what you see with so many releases, you got to wonder what the guy's going to do. And I wanted to do this episode with all of you because I'm just so fascinated by it and I find it so interesting, and I wonder if he could ever leave. And then I would wonder, if he did ever leave and WWE is still going, do they still utilize all his footage and his years of work within the company? He is like, other than being terrorizing in WCW, he's been WWE forever. And he's so ingrained in the organization, like The Undertaker, right? He's like right up there. He's one of those guys that you always got to be able to showcase in footage and promos and his work over the years, and multi-time Hall of Famer and all that stuff. If he went off and started his own organization, I don't know what WWE would do. If they would promote him at all, if they would, shed any light on his work, or would they kind of brush him away? It's very, very interesting. What I'd like to see is, honestly and selfishly, I'd love for him to bounce out and say, I've had enough, and he finds some investors and starts up his own wrestling organization, or takes over something like an ROH. When the Ring of Honor is going to go through a full reboot and rebrand and all that stuff, and presumably in April, I'd love for somebody like Triple H to walk in there and say, I'm going to oversee all of this. I want a big part. I want to be a big shareholder and stakeholder in this, and build it up as his new version of NXT. And he could do so if he has more resources, or at least even more freedom at his disposal. He was given quite a lot, presumably, to work on NXT, because he got the pay-per-views, he got airtime, he got TV time, the network time, all this stuff, the budgets, everything to try and build this thing up. And I think he capped out NXT for what he was able to do, because he could never get it to a point where it was going to go and integrate as a real third brand with main roster. That's what he positioned it as, but that's not what the rest of WWE looked at it. Your best chance to do all of that was when we had Survivor Series and you had Raw, SmackDown, NXT mixing it up. That was a killer show. And a lot of circumstances happened and created those moments. And it made it fun, and it made it feel like you had rivalries between brands, and it was cool. And it was only for a minute. And then it all went away. And I think it was a real shot to do something with it, but they never really wanted to put NXT on the same level as Raw and SmackDown. It made all the sense to do it, but I don't think they ever were going to do it. So really, again, what do you all think? Do you think Triple H would ever leave WWE completely and go off and do his own thing in the world of wrestling? Or do you think that he'll just quietly retire and exit the company and stay low key? Or do you think he just stays with WWE altogether until Vince is gone and sees what happens? It's interesting time right now, and it's really sad to see that so many talents and so many backstage folks lose their jobs, and it's everything he had built is getting dismantled completely in front of everybody. That really sucks. Now, hopefully all those people find new jobs. Hopefully they can go, if it's in wrestling, that they can get on creative, that, Samoa Joe can go work for another company if he wants to tomorrow. William Regal, Road Dogg, anybody else. Hopefully they can all find the roles they have. And hopefully, like Triple H, I'm just waiting to see what is going to happen to him. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? And where do you think all of this is headed? And do you think that we're going to see any more releases coming out of the gate when it comes to WWE? Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode.